Final hour OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Brian Hayes, Michael DeStefano, a.k.a. my partsy, a.k.a. Al's brother. Big hour, best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Later in the hour, Leafs Sharks tonight. Raptors in L.A. playing the Lakers tonight, and Jack Armstrong will join us in about a half an hour. The Lakers, ever since that in-season tournament, it has not gone so well for them.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I might ask Jack about this. Like, you look at their record since that tournament, they're 4-10. The Pacers are, I think, 9-7. So, like, just above 500. Like, does that taint at all what this midseason tournament means?
Well, I don't think the midseason tournament didn't hold any weight to begin with.
There was a couple days.
History.
There was a couple days, though, where everyone was all about the in-season tournament.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't cool. I thought it went as well as it possibly could have.
Right.
In terms of the players buying into it, the effort, I thought in the buildings, like the fourth game of the 4-game stretch.
Yeah, I guess maybe what I'm asking is, does it prove anything?
No.
Like, does the in-season champion prove anything of what you are?
I don't think so. I mean, it's a tournament in October and November. You know, like you prove who you are in the playoffs in the NBA. Who you are down the stretch over the course of 82 games, not a 4-game, insignificant tournament that is lapping over the regular season and the in-season tournament. And then you get into the quarters, the semis, you're in Vegas. There's not the fans are it's basically a neutral site game at that point.
Yeah, it's like a bowl game.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Like the Lakers with LeBron, they won the COVID Bowl, basically.
Yeah.
And they won the in-season tournament. Like, it's an interesting legacy that LeBron has in L.A. because he has won a championship, and now he's put a banner up for an in-season tournament, which at the time was cool, and he played incredibly well. Players loved it because you're not taking that money back. They all got $500,000.
Yeah.
But in terms of that being some sort of stepping stone to the Lakers, like, returning to supremacy in the West, clearly that wasn't the case.
No.
And it hasn't been the case.
And it's, like, you can say it's a hindsight take, I suppose. But like if this team, and right now they're around 500, they're just teetering on a playoff spot. Like if this team doesn't do anything, like I do wonder if you look at that and all of a sudden it's okay, well, who cares about this midseason championship now?
Well, I'm sure you're right.
From a fan base perspective, like I think the players, it means a lot more, but from a fan perspective, guys like you and I who have to watch and cover it, like ultimately, what does it mean now?
Well, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for the league though, because what it might represent is, like, fans are not stupid. If you're a fan of the Raptors, for instance, it's been a lot more interesting and fun since they made that trade.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not winning a championship. Like, no one's delusional enough in Toronto to believe that the Raptors are going to win a championship. But maybe you got a crack at winning something, right? And maybe Laker fan, it won't fly with the Lakers because they're the Lakers.
It's a prestigious organization.
They've won so much, and they're prestigious, and they obviously have an ego, and they should. The in-season tournament, it probably falls flat on the Lakers. I think you're wasting that opportunity to sell to a fan base, hey, at least you got something, because the Lakers won't, I don't think they'd appreciate it. But if you gave that to Charlotte, what else do you have?
Or Indiana.
Indiana, exactly. Indiana hasn't won anything. Like, if you're an Indiana Pacer fan, you might be like, I'll take that. Like, I didn't have high expectations this year, and they're not going to win a championship, but hey, we won the in-season tournament. So I think, if anything, it could be spun like, it truly is. There's parity. Anyone could win it. They've got to really hammer home the idea that it stands alone and it means something because it stands alone. But I feel good about the Raptors going into this game tonight. Now, Jakob Poeltl's out indefinitely with an ankle sprain. That's going to hurt. Like, Jakob's been playing well.
More Boucher played well in the Golden State game.
But this is the issue. They do not have bigs on this team.
No.
Like, you have Poeltl, who is a pure big, and then after that, you have Chris Boucher, who is not. Like, when he faces a true big,
ever.
He's getting pushed out of ball games.
Yeah.
But Jack will join us a little bit later this afternoon. We're getting towards Super Wild Card weekend, Al's brother. And as we said earlier, I thought Dallas had the most pressure on them. But I do wonder how coaches are feeling, about the pressure that they might be facing based on which coaches are now available around the league, with Mike Vrabel being let go today.
Yeah.
Sounds like Jim Harbaugh is interested in getting out of college football and back in the NFL. And we're waiting to hear what's going to happen on Belichick. No news yet. As of now, he's still under contract. He's still in New England. To chat about it, we're joined now by longtime NFLer, Super Bowl champ ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday back on OverDrive. How you doing, Jeff?
Fantastic. How you guys doing today?
We're doing great, man. And like we're waiting on Belichick. Like, do you have a read on what you see happening here with Belichick and his relationship in New England?
No, I mean everybody kind of in and around has been telling me that they think it's it's going to happen here sooner rather than later. But I don't know. I just haven't. I mean, Bill's saying all the right things, talking about that he would take a diminished role in certain areas if they felt like it would be better for the team. And, so in my head, that takes me to a Scott Pioli or a Mike Tannenbaum, bringing guys like that in who have been in the organization before and have helped them before, potentially getting Josh McDaniels back into the fold in whatever role that would be. I mean, I could foresee, Bill just putting together their defense played really well this year. So it's not like the guys, he didn't forget how to coach.
Yeah.
It's being able to develop players on the offensive side of the ball and getting ones that can threaten you. So I'm just not sure. I mean, unless you're trying to hit a home run and you're Robert Kraft and you're going to go find some offensive guru that you feel like is going to put a bunch of points, I'm not sure which direction you go. I mean, and I hear everybody talking about that Vrabel is the perfect marriage for that. And I mean, I don't. If you're Kraft and you're looking at that, I mean, Vrabel hasn't been much different than the Patriots, right? Like, they're 1-8 or something in their last 9 division games in the AFC South. Like the AFC East is better than the AFC South, and so I just don't know. I don't know how. I don't know if it's about relationship or what the long-term vision is. But if I'm Kraft, I'm probably sticking with Belichick and trying to build around it.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of Vrabel, who I like Mike Vrabel, but you're bringing in a guy who's going to follow in the footsteps of Belichick. It's not going to be that drastic. It's not going to have a completely different feel to the culture in New England, I don't think, if you bring in Vrabel. But I'm curious, Jeff, if it gets to a point where Belichick and New England, they part ways, like, is Bill still revered around the league to the point where owners will fire their respective coach to get him? Like, will it just be a gong show trying to get Bill Belichick, or do you see only a couple of teams really fitting the mold for what Belichick will represent?
Yeah, I don't. It would have to be somebody who was, they're thinking the coach is, kind of a lame duck type coach. I could not see, organizations that are stable going, hey, we're going to fire our guy and bring in and this is no slight, but Bill is in the 70s, so it's like, what's your thought process on long term? And so no, I don't foresee it that way. I think the jobs that are open, everybody would want to take a shot at Bill, get him in the organization in some way, somehow. I mean, I just think when you're talking about development of an organization long term, I don't think you would move off somebody that you feel like is making headway with your organization. But if you've already made the move and you have an available spot, I wouldn't see why everybody wouldn't want to sit down and have an interview with him.
Well, I guess the other guy that everyone kind of has eyes on right now is, John Harbaugh just went in and, or Jim Harbaugh just went in and won a national championship last night. Like, how do you handicap his chances at either returning to Michigan or going back into the NFL?
I think it's NFL. I mean, listen, if I was going to put a number, I'd probably say 70-30. He's going to the NFL. And NFL organizations would be silly not to bring the guy in. I mean, he is productive at every level of coaching. He has proven that he can win. I mean, the guy came into San Francisco. They had 8 straight losing seasons, 8 straight. And he takes them to 3 different title or conference games into a title game, goes to the Super Bowl, obviously loses to his brother. But and that's with Alex Smith and with Colin Kaepernick. And so, he went with a guy that people thought were a bust at the time, and he got Alex Smith to be productive, and then he went and shifted and went a completely different style quarterback with Colin Kaepernick, who, in fact, that was my last year playing, and I was in Green Bay, and he runs for like 200 yards against us and closes out our season. And so the guy understands how to put an organization together, whether you love him or hate him. Is he quirky? Does he have off? Yeah. But let me tell you, the dude, he puts it together. And what's interesting is Harbaugh has that old school kind of mindset. Like his practices are archaic compared to like what kind of quote new school coaches do. He's leveled in fundamentals. He's leveled in technique. I mean, he believes in that kind of stuff. He coaches to that way, but then he's innovative, right? He brings in the right guys around him who can match up and like mentor his defense coordinator. Like he just finds, more, and he finds guys who can bring life to different parts of the team, and he allows them to do their job. And I just think so many teams are going to line up for him. I see the Chargers lining up. I see the Raiders lining up. I see the Falcons lining up. Like everybody's going to try to have this guy come and sit down with them. And I think he's probably at the peak right now from the NFL perspective.
With Jeff Saturday, ESPN NFL analyst, I'm reading online that they are saying in Kansas City on Saturday night, Kansas City, Miami, it may be the coldest game on record, if not the coldest, one of the coldest, where they're saying it might get as low as -9 Fahrenheit. -9 Fahrenheit, Jeff. Put yourself in that locker room for Kansas City, or better yet, from Miami, playing down in the heat and living down in Miami year-round. How do you prepare yourself for the mental grind, the physical grind, biggest game of the year when it is going to be freezing and you've probably never played in temperatures like that before?
Yeah, you can't, right? From the Dolphins' perspective, unless you grew up in those areas, you can't replicate it. I mean, you can't practice it. You can, and everybody's body gets accustomed to wherever they're living. And so it doesn't, there's no way to make it that cold. And McDaniel will talk about, hey, it's a mindset, it's a thought process, but let me tell you something, it's real. You go out there and you catch your finger between two face masks early in the game, it hurts, like your digits hurt, right? Like your face hurts. It is a definite advantage for Kansas City to play in conditions like that. And not that they played in them like this, like you're saying, this could be historic, but at least they face cold weather, catching the ball, the spin of the ball, the slickness of the ball, because there's wax, right? There's wax on footballs, and so it does different things, whether it's wet or whether it's cold, all the different things that go into it. And when you can replicate and you can practice it, it's an advantage. And so I think this is an advantage. It's one of those keys that I think is actually going to play a factor in this game. And the other side of this is, when you think about it as banged up as their defensive line has been, guys coming out of the game, like when you come out of the game for a snap or two or three or whatever it is, you ain't in Miami. Everything ain't staying loose, right? You gotta run back out there, And so it's. I tell people all the time, it's the smallest details that you kind of overlook. But I can remember guys talking about it. If you're a guy who only plays 15 snaps or 12 snaps or whatever that is, well, that's a long time between plays and staying warm on the sideline. And I know we got heaters, we got all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you something. It doesn't just make you warm. And so I just think it's a massive advantage. And that was why Miami was playing for that home field advantage was such a big deal, because bringing everybody down to Miami is equally an advantage. But at this point, I do think that falls into Kansas City's hands, and both teams got to play in it. And the Kansas City receivers have not been sure-handed, so maybe it plays an advantage that way for the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Maybe their hands become even more brickish. But at some point, somebody's got to make catches and make plays, and I just tend to think that's more of an advantage for Kansas City.
Yeah, I think running the football might be a big advantage too there.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's going to be an interesting one. But Jeff, up here in Toronto, there's a lot of Bills fans, obviously, the closest team to the area, and there was, a time this year where they're 6-6, and a lot of people thought this team was dead in the water. They've really ran the table since. They ended up winning the division. They clinched the 2 seed. I mean, what do you make of the turnaround for the Buffalo Bills this season, and do they have a chance to keep it rolling and actually be a threat to win a Super Bowl here?
Yeah, it's incredible. I was one of those people. I thought they were done. I just looked at their schedule and thought, man, for the way they had played to get to 6-6, they had just fired Dorsey and kind of all the things that you're looking at. Their defense was so banged up. Believe me, I'm hearing it all in my Twitter or X, whatever it's called. Bills Mafia has been after me. You know what I mean? As soon as they beat the Dolphins, I'm hearing it from and it's like, But listen, they are one of those teams nobody wants to face. With Josh playing the way he plays, and again, I know he didn't play a perfect game. He turns the ball over, but listen, he's also unpredictable in a good way. He can pull that ball down. He can convert drives, convert first downs. He can score, with his legs, with his arm. And so you're seeing kind of the most dangerous. And then their defense has really played exceptionally well for how many injuries they have faced. And so I just look at it and you go, man, if you're lining up, that's a scary team. I mean, that's a team that nobody's going to be, excited to go play, especially having to go through Buffalo until the AFC Championship game. Again, that's an advantage, right? I mean, it's a major advantage. And so, I was one of those guys, but they have, and let me just say this, man, as much as Josh Allen gets, Cook has been a freaking stud.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this kid has, and the way that Brady has used him and fed him and given him touches, and the way that he has, that the way their offense is going through him, their offensive line, now I did say this, I've stayed with this the whole year, their offensive line has been really good all season. Like run blocking, they've been really good, that backside counter trade type where they're pulling the tackle. Like they have been really good, very efficient all season, even when they were 6-6, but it's just continuing to go. And when you can run the ball and you got a massive quarterback like that who can, even if guys do beat you on the edge, he ain't going down easy. That all in playoff football, that stuff matters. I mean, liken it back to like the Ben Roethlisberger days, right? Like the guys that be draped on him, that's some Josh Allen stuff, right? And so I think when you have a quarterback who's as good as he is and the team playing as well as they are, going in, I think it's a 5-game win streak now, man, that's hot, bro. That's hitting the playoffs exactly how you want to hit them.
Absolutely. With Jeff Saturday, the Dallas Cowboys, do you believe they have the most pressure to succeed this weekend and throughout the playoffs? Where are you at with Dallas, and how much do they have to beat up on the Packers this weekend?
Let me tell you, I think this sets up really, really well for the Cowboys. I think it's a good matchup, like the Packers match up fairly well with the Cowboys, right? You have the Packers are very successful in play action. That's a weakness for Dallas. That's, the offensive line for Green Bay has been really good. So they'll have a good, I think they're ranked number 2 in pass rate, or pass rush win rate, right behind the Chiefs. So they have a good matchup against a good front. That's good though, because still I think Dallas, probably beats them pretty well, right? Because they can be explosive at home. They're going to have all the advantage of being at home. I think they can start fast against it, but they're still playing a good quality opponent. And then, you're going to have the Rams. Even if the Rams do win in Detroit, they got to go play San Francisco instead of coming through there. And so when you're looking at the Cowboys, you kind of got a good draw and you got a good little seed in. So I think for them, it's worked out. So when you're asking me about pressure, I think they have a lot of pressure because this really is a great opportunity, to have everything kind of fall in your lap. Even, and I'm not saying this would happen, but even let's say the Rams win and go to San Francisco, like the Rams aren't scared of the 49ers, but division opponents feel good going to playoffs against each other, right? Like there is no intimidation factor. It's not like, man, we only see them once every 4 years. These dudes know each other like the back of their hand. Nobody's afraid. They upset them. Now you're going to play an NFC Championship game in Dallas. Like could not be a better setup for the way the Cowboys are. So they need to handle their business. But I still think they're a very good football team and kind of not on the same level as the Bills with their stride, but just under them, in my opinion.
Always great having you on, Jeff. Really appreciate you doing this, man. Thank you.
Love being with you, fellas. Have a great one.
You got it. Jeff Saturday of ESPN. And he's right about the divisional matchups, but that can go against Dallas if the Eagles beat Tampa. Because if the Rams beat the Lions, that means the Rams will play San Francisco and the Eagles will go and play in Dallas.
I don't know about you. I have zero faith in the Eagles doing anything this playoffs.
I don't have faith either, but it's Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield. And Baker's been good, but they clinched the division by beating Carolina 9-0.
Yeah.
They beat Carolina 9-0.
How did they pick that game as the Monday nighter? The standalone Monday night game.
I know.
It's really kind of bizarre.
It was the same as last year, I guess, right? When it was Brady and the Cowboys.
At least you got Brady.
But it was Brady, exactly. But
final game ever, possibly, turned out to be.
I don't know. I would guess that there's a carousel of – because I was a bit surprised the Packers-Cowboys game was in the 4 o'clock window on Sunday. And the Sunday nighter is Detroit-LA. Obviously, the Cowboys and the Packers will get a much bigger rating, I would assume, which would suggest to me that's probably either a Fox or a CBS game, and maybe they had first pick, and they're like, that's what – because every network wants Dallas. Like, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the Cowboys, and then on top of it, if it's Cowboys-Packers, they're dying for that matchup.
True.
Like, Stafford against going back to Detroit, that sells, but not like Dallas versus Green Bay.
Jeff sounded like he would be leaning Dallas.
Dallas big.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
We got to pick that game, right?
I don't even know with these two idiots. I mean,
Did we decide what, like, because in the group chat, Luke just sent out his picks.
I know.
These are the games
Luke
we're
just
picking.
decided we're picking this.
Hold on a second.
I know. I don't know, dude.
I'll pick whoever. I don't care. I'll say this, like, I'm looking up the team win rates, the stat that Saturday just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
The Dallas Cowboys are winning on 59% of their pass rushes. That's insane. That being said, the Packers are the number 2 pass block win rate in the NFL as well. So this is going to be a really good matchup. You got one of the best pass rushing teams against one of the best pass blocking teams. Who's going to come out on the other side?
Yeah, like you know what's coming. Like he just said, the Cowboys have not been great against play action. Packers are going to use a lot of motion. And, you know, it's easier said than done, but LaFleur is going to just try to do whatever he can to get Micah Parsons out of the game. Like that's effectively what the Bills did when Dallas went up there.
Dillon going to be good to go? Have you heard anything on A.J. Dillon?
On that. No, I haven't. Like and they've missed him recently, but they still won.
Yeah.
You know, but they could use Jones and Dillon.
1-2 punch.
But very rarely have both of them been electric in the same game.
True.
It's generally like one's hot, the other one's not. And listen, it's a good problem to have because you at least have one guy you feel like you can bank on. But I don't know. I just have a sneaking suspicion the Packers are going to show up and play. Like I do. I think the way they finished their season, that was a gut check game, albeit against the Bears at home, but it's still the youngest team in the league, a young quarterback, and they dominated that game. Like they deserved to win that game.
They should have put up at least 30 points.
They should have beat the Bears by more than they did.
Agreed.
But again, I think 7.5 seems like an appropriate line for me. I think the Cowboys will win, but I would not be shocked if it's by a touchdown or less. But I am biased. This is the issue that I have. We have talked about this before. I do not like picking Packer games because I do look at it differently than every other team in the league. But,
which is why Luke was like, we're giving you this game. We'll pick whatever. You can get the Packer game, which I don't know. It seems fishy.
Yeah, by the end of the week, we'll have an answer, right? Doogie, I guess is the handshake gate. It's over for the regular season.
JP's got to be included too. At least he has slight integrity over there.
Not much either. I don't know, man. Him and Doogie, they're both looking for...
Doogie, though, that's...
Yeah, we'll see. So anyway, we'll get to our picks a little bit later this week. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later this hour. Jack Armstrong coming up as well. Lakers, Raptors tonight. We'll tee it up, spin you around the NBA. We'll catch up with Jack. We'll do that next. All right, we'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. The Raptors are in LA playing the Lakers tonight. Jakob Poeltl is out for at least a couple of weeks. They don't have a lot of bigs on this team.
No, they don't.
Chris Boucher is going to get some play, man. And I'd have to look at their schedule, but if they run into like Philly anytime soon.
Yeah, Embiid will eat that guy alive.
Yeah, that's trouble.
They
play
just
Milwaukee.
played the Nuggets, so they're not going to play Jokic.
Yeah.
But they got the Clippers coming up.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity for other guys, right? Like Chris Boucher has not gotten a lot of run. And so they were showing this graphic the other day actually on the game because RJ Barrett went off.
Yeah,
he had an incredible game
the other night.
And they were showing the highest scoring Canadians for the Raptors. And Chris Boucher was on that list like 3 times.
Yeah.
As the highest scoring Canadian for a Raptors player.
Yeah.
As a Raptor.
Yeah.
And I think he tops the list at 38 points. He had a couple other 30-point performances. And that was back in 2021. like, there was a time where Chris Boucher was, hey, this
well,
kid
that's
might
why
got
they
something.
gave him like a 3-year deal, and they gave him some money, and they extended him, and like he's just been so inconsistent throughout his career.
Incredibly inconsistent.
Yeah, and he's obviously he's a big, but he gets pushed out of the paint, and
he's tall.
He's very tall,
and he is a thin fella.
Yeah. But anyway, Raptors Lakers tonight, and again, I feel pretty good about where the Raptors are at. Like, I don't think it should change what their intentions are with Siakam. Like, whatever they were thinking they should have done with Siakam before the OG Anunoby trade, I think they should still follow through on that. It's been a few games; it's looked good. Quickley's looked pretty good. RJ Barrett's looked very good.
Yep.
But if you're turning this over and you're moving in a different direction, and you are building around Scotty, then Siakam's just not. I don't think it's going to work. And Pascal's been really good. I have a lot of time for the fact that Pascal wants to be here. Like, it does sound as if reports that Sacramento was thinking heavily about making a deal. They weren't going to put that Murray kid in, so who knows what the deal was going to look like.
Yeah.
But I think it was Shams Charania, like 2 hours before tip-off on Friday, was like,
something's happening.
Kings and Siakam.
Yeah.
And like 2 hours later, it's done. It's off the table. And the belief is that Siakam was like, I'm not going to re-sign with you, or I can't guarantee you I will re-sign with you. And maybe the Kings got cold feet. And it's also possible the Raptors didn't see something in that deal that made sense for them. But Pascal's made it pretty clear. Like, he wants to stay here, and if anybody trades for him, he'll go play. But he's not guaranteeing that he's going to stick around long term.
But that hasn't... I mean, DeMar wanted to stay here too, and that didn't stop Masai from making the trade that he feels is best for his club. It worked out the first time.
Obvious. I mean, the Raptors were built differently though at that point. Like, when they traded for DeMar, they brought in Kawhi on a 1-year rental. You're not doing that with Siakam. Like, this is totally different context. Whatever you bring in for Pascal, you're not even thinking about what it's going to do for team dynamics the rest of this season necessarily.
Right.
Like, it's youth and picks and flexibility, and how are you going to build your roster out?
I think Paul George was talking on his podcast about possibly Siakam being a nice piece for the Warriors.
Right. And Kuminga would be the main piece.
Some picks coming back the other way.
I don't know. I mean, Golden State gets connected, and they've got a few young guys that just have not worked. And they've got
a couple of years ago, that was the hot team too. Remember when the Warriors had like the 4th pick and the 7th pick overall? I think maybe in the 2nd pick. They took James
they had 2
Wiseman.
picks in the top 10.
They took Wiseman and took Kuminga.
Right.
With another pick there. And they maybe even had another pick in that draft. But, they were not willing to put those draft picks within the deal. And ultimately, we know it never came to fruition. It didn't happen.
Right.
But now I wonder if after a couple of years, they've already moved on from James Wiseman. And they look and they say, you know what, Kuminga, if that could land us Siakam, now we're comfortable making that deal.
Well,
I don't know if Toronto wants to do that trade, if they'd be interested in bringing him in and picks.
I don't know, man. Kuminga's had ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. And there's leaks coming out of Golden State about how, he feels and other young players feel about their development. And it's like, does that carry over here? You got to be careful with who thinks they're the man, who wants to be the man, who's seeking that title. Because whoever you bring up here, they got to fall in line behind Scotty. Like, if Siakam gets traded, this is Barnes' team, and everyone else filters in behind it. Not that you don't want competition with him, not that you don't want a running mate with him, but there's a lot of rumors, a lot of conjecture at this point. It's completely up in the air. Like, what's going to happen with Pascal Siakam and which teams are going to be in on him, and whether or not he's willing to even entertain the idea of, signing wherever he gets traded to, because he can be a free agent and do whatever he wants in the summer. And, that's all up in the air at this point. But the Raptors are in L.A. playing the Lakers tonight. And the Raptors have been red hot recently, man. They're winning ball games. They're looking good. It's a different vibe around the team, and a guy that would know that better than anyone. So our Raptors analyst here is our good buddy Jack Armstrong. How you doing, Jack?
Hi, Brian. Mike, how you guys doing?
We're doing very well. Can you describe the kind of mood around the team, pre-trade, post-trade? Does it feel different with RJ and Immanuel Quickley kicking around the group these days?
Absolutely. I mean, you had 2 starters to the team, and something had to happen. Things have definitely gotten stale. And, you look at this team right now, they're rejuvenated. There's a purpose to how they're playing. You moved Dennis Schroeder to the bench. And, you look at how the bench has performed of late now. What a difference. I mean, you put him and Gary Trent together. on the bench, and the kind of play that you get. And Chris Boucher has been rejuvenated the last few games. So to me, I think there's no doubt about it that it moves everyone down a peg. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think when you add two starters for one, now I'm not comparing it directly and specifically to the Rudy Gay trade, but some of this is just philosophically. At that point, they gave up one excellent player and then a few bit pieces and got four legitimate rotation guys. And now, you had organizational depth, and it changes how you play. And their second unit was great, and they ended up winning 48 games and playing the Nets in the playoffs as a high, the higher seed with home court advantage. So I'm not saying that's going to happen right now, but what's happening is that you've changed the look and the feel and the personality of your team, and I think that's all really good stuff.
Do you think it maybe would give Masai a little bit of a pause before doing something with Pascal Siakam? Like maybe he wants to give this group, now that he's seen, 4 or 5 games, they've looked pretty well together, maybe give them until the deadline to see, what this group can be before pulling the trigger on a trade? Well,
I think his MO is to pause. He's a very patient, prudent guy. So he's, letting it marinate and evaluating and seeing what is out there. And obviously there's all these rumors, but 90% of it is complete nonsense. No one saw the Nick Raptor trade coming, and everyone's evaluation of these trades or potential trades most of the time have two teams. To me, in a lot of scenarios, you have to look at how can 3 teams get together or 4 teams get together on transactions to make it work for everybody. So, the challenge here tonight, obviously Anthony Davis and LeBron James, but more specifically with Anthony Davis tonight with Jakob Poeltl is now going to be out for at least 2 weeks. That changes a little bit now. I talked about moving everyone down a peg. Now everyone's got to move up a peg. What does your 5 spot look like? Now what's the composition of your bench? Is your bench going to be as productive as they've been? So there'll be some interesting things, and that goes into the evaluation as well of your overall roster, because the Raptors have been blessed with great health this year. They have not had any significant injuries. I mean, Gary Trent's missed a few games here and there, but overwhelmingly they've been healthy. Mm-hmm. So, this will be, you have to look under the hood a little bit more and say, okay, what's in there? And now what second unit players can you play, particularly here with a back-to-back, even though thank goodness it's a home back-to-back where you're in the same city twice. Nonetheless, it's a back-to-back. And when you start getting deep into minutes, particularly tomorrow night against the Clippers, those things start to show up.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned Jakob Poeltl, Jack, out for at least a couple of weeks. And once you get past him, he is a legit big. He is the definition of a legit big in the NBA. They don't have anyone else that will scare anybody of size and significance in the NBA. So if you're Darko and you're planning for the next 2 weeks, this is a big test. What do you do if the opposing coach just decides to load up on size, or you run into a center that really has a lot, that plays a bit of an old school style? How do you expect they handle that moving forward?
Well, you look at the game the other day in San Francisco where Steve Kerr at halftime changed his lineup and put in 3 different guys to start the second half. And he went with Looney, Saric as well, a little more size, and the Raptors struggled rebounding the ball. This team has struggled at times closing defensive possessions with a defensive rebound. And, many times that's with Jakob Poeltl on the floor. So, and Poeltl's an aware, alert, quick, nimble defender who, again, statistically, you're going to look at him and say, all right, his points, his rebounds, this, that, the other thing. But, he's a valued piece because he's a great screen setter, ball mover, keeps the ball alive on the glass. He will get block shots. He will challenge at the rim and get in the way. He will rotate quickly. He's a guy that gets a ton of screen assists, opening guys up for clean looks. So the impact is on both sides. Now, look, I'm not making Jakob Poeltl sound like he's Shaquille O'Neal by any way, but it changes how you play. And I think for their team, I look at I'm glad to see Chris Boucher's performance is trending in the right direction the last few games. Porter, the young guy that's played a few games for them now, probably will see a little bit more extended time. And I'm sure they might try to mix and match and play a little small at times. Maybe a small ball 5 for Scotty Barnes. Try to get into the ball a little bit more, play even quicker. And as you can tell in the last 10, 12 games, they're playing a lot faster. And when they play fast, their offensive efficiency goes up.
With Jack Armstrong, our TSN NBA and Raptor analyst, Raptors Lakers tonight. You mentioned you guys were just through Golden State, and Draymond Green has had some interesting comments the last couple of days, Jack, where he's claiming that Adam Silver saved him from retirement, and he was thinking of retiring and handing over tens of millions of dollars, but Adam Silver decided to convince him to stay, and he's trying to convince the world that he can keep his actions in check and his emotions in check. I'll believe it when I see it. Where do you stand on Draymond and his future, and if you expect to see a different guy in the court?
Well, I know you guys have computers there, and you could probably pop up his salary, what he's owed over the next few years. I think it's right around. It's in the range of $100 million overall.
Yep.
Exactly. So I think I thought I had that. I ran around 100.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid. I'm not leaving $100 million on the table, and I think it's all PR spin. And maybe Adam had a nice discussion with him, and maybe he wanted to take more time off, or who knows. But I think it's more PR spin than anything else. Here's the thing. You look at a guy like Draymond Green, what makes him great is obviously his competitive mojo, the juice he plays with, the engine, the motor. He's a great defender. He's a terrific passer. He's a savant out there. He's incredibly bright and aware, and he's alert and mentally a few steps ahead of what's going on out there. So he has all that. The one thing that he has is a quick trigger, too. But part of what has made him great is playing on the edge. And, so I don't know how he's going to deal with that. Maybe in the first 10, 20 games he'll be fine with it, but there'll come a moment again. And it's not just him internally. It's externally where a road crowd gets on him, where guys start talking smack and try to get him under the skin and all that. And if you look at the Warriors' schedule, they're going to have a road-heavy schedule starting after they play New Orleans tomorrow night at home. And they were not a good team last year on the road, and they were a good team at home. And this year, they've been okay at home. And, oh, boy, with a road-heavy schedule the rest of the way and frustration and challenges, it'll be interesting to see how he keeps his cool. But I'm sure on the 1st and 15th of the month, he should make sure he keeps his cool because it benefits him and his family. And you know what, too? This guy has bigger aspirations. Mm-hmm. He wants to be on TV when it's all said and done. And look, I look at him and how disrespectful he is in particular to officials. I don't know why officials allow him to talk and act the way he acts and talk. But nonetheless, if this guy is going to be part of the NBA community in terms of being on TV and all that, I think as he closes down his career, he's got to look at the big picture and make sure he's finishing his career and kind of building some bridges rather than continuing to put up walls.
Well, I'm curious if you think that Adam Silver wants him expressing, the idea that Silver is a player guy, like a pro player commissioner, which shouldn't be a problem. Like you guys are, they're business partners. Both sides make a ton of money. The owners, the players. There's a CBA. But I don't recall his predecessor. I could be wrong, but I don't remember many players saying, David Stern was. That's the guy I was going for dinner with. I want to have drinks. He was my guy. And Silver's got that reputation of being very pro player. But I think at times the players collectively have taken that too far. And I don't get the impression like Silver's ecstatic about that with the amount of games missed in other areas that I'm sure we could get to as well, Jack. How do you think the commissioner would feel about Draymond, saying what he said about Silver and the players and his relationship?
I agree. Look, David Stern saved the league. David Stern built the league. He did an amazing job. He was also a ruthless negotiator, and he had a very mixed relationship with the players' union in different negotiations. And Adam, who was his deputy commissioner, was more, iron fist, velvet glove. And now Adam has been more player friendly and done a phenomenal job. And look, we have labor peace. We're in the midst of a negotiation now for new TV rights deals, and hopefully it puts the league in a position where revenues maybe potentially could double, maybe even double 2.5 to 3 in terms of what it does. And you look at the valuations of teams right now, and all the elements of different groups getting involved in ownership, pitches and all that. You look at the valuation of what I just saw come out. You look at a Raptors being valued over $4 billion. We're not even talking about the Leafs yet. We're talking about,
right.
And that's before. And think about this for a second, Brian. That's before the new TV deal signed.
Right.
Now some of these valuations are, already putting in some of their calculations in terms of what they project that to be, but potentially it could be even more. And then, there's no doubt when the new TV deal is done, we've already got labor peace. There's going to be 2 teams added to the league in terms of expansion. The owners are going to make a killing on that. So when it's all said and done, business is good. And so I think for Adam Silver, you bring up a really good point. There's peace. They're going to try to get a new TV deal done. But at the same time, he needs more partnership mentality from the players' union in terms of the fact that, hey, guys got to play. There's got to be more buy-in on certain things. And it can't be a one-way street mentality where you do everything for them and you bend over backwards and they only meet you 30% of the way. So I think that's something that you could see the pushback already from Joe Dumars and Adam in terms of suddenly out of nowhere, load management's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? We're starting the TV negotiations. Of course, it's I'm sure if I'm Disney or the people at Turner, I'm pounding my fist on the table going, whoa, hold on a minute. You want me to give you what? Mm-hmm. And at the same time, all these streaming companies, they're pounding their fist on the table too, because not only one side's driving a hard bargain, both sides are. So, and the players now have the new deal and everything's good, and they're going to benefit even more from it as a 50% partner. So it's very important to have that buy-in. And I think he's done a great job being respectful. And I think, you hope for the good of the league that continues. And, if a guy like Draymond Green can mature and help all that in terms of the process, I think it's good for the league overall.
Raptors, Lakers tonight. Enjoy it, Jack. Go Bills. We'll do it again soon. Thank you, buddy.
You got it. Go Bills, guys.
There he is, Jack Armstrong. Bills actually in better weather than the Kansas City game.
This is
right?
true. I texted him. I was at the Bills game against the Patriots a couple of weeks ago, and I texted to see if he was going to be there. I was going to stroll by because
Jack loves a tailgate.
Oh, that he tailgates with the best of them. And I was going to stroll by, maybe get a hot dog, maybe a soda pop. Unfortunately, I think they were on the road that weekend. It was the day after the Pistons game, so he was still in Detroit. So
shame. That's a shame.
Didn't happen.
But Jack is a legend down there in Western New York.
Oh, is he ever?
Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Austin Matthews, anytime goal tonight. It's going to happen. William Nylander, 4+ shots. Mitch Marner, 3+ shots, big plus money on that. I think the least likely win big, but I'm on the props tonight. Matthews scores, Nylander shots, Marner shots. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. FanDuel's goal in the first 10 minutes is the most electric bet in hockey and can be included in any same-game parlay on any NHL game. Please play responsibly, 18+ and physically located in Ontario. We'll come back and tee up Leafs Sharks again, Raptors Lakers again. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Leafs Sharks tonight, Raptors Lakers tonight, and we're inching closer to the NFL this weekend. 2 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, Monday nighter. 3 picks for Hayes and Bro. 3 picks for Timo and Wilson.
Yeah, we'll go 3-0. They'll go 0-3. And
if that's the way it starts, I mean, if that's the way the wild card weekend starts,
we're laughing.
I mean, that is troublesome, right? Like if either team goes 0-3, you're in big trouble. You got to pick
because there's not a lot of games.
You can't
not a lot of games at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Next week you got 4. Like after this, you got 7 games.
Yeah.
If you're in the tank -6, you're done.
That's true. This is true.
There's a lot of pressure on us here, AB.
Hey, we had a good weekend last week.
We had a great season.
We roll that into some success here. We were built for the playoffs.
I have no doubt about that. I'm with you on that. Al's brother, good seeing you.
Thanks, buddy.
As always, there he is, Michael DiStefano. Thank you to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. As always, we appreciate that. Everyone for tuning in today, radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.